Well, it is the Thanksgiving season, and it's just a time. I love the Thanksgiving holidays, and selfishly, I'm just going to make a confession to you. One of the reasons that I like it is that being in a pastor's family, when so many holidays revolve around a Sunday or a celebration like we have at Christmas. Christmas doesn't necessarily fall on a Sunday, but we have lots of services, so it tends to be a little bit taxing for the staff and their family. So I love Thanksgiving because it's on a Thursday and there's no services involved. So selfishly, that's my confession to you. I love Thanksgiving. It's just a great time to be with family and friends, and it's a time that I'm especially fond of because we don't have to worry about making anybody's wishes come true. I mean, someone might put in a special recipe request, or my kids will say, "Mom, are you going to make the mashed potato casserole?" And that's great. I like that wish. But as far as what we've fallen into with so much of our holiday experience, and with Christmas especially, it's about making people's wishes come true. And that's not what Christmas is all about. That's not what the holidays are all about. I love the fact that Thanksgiving comes before Christmas because it helps me think a time of reflection, think back on things in my life, and to appreciate where I am at this stage and game in my life. It helps me reflect, to anticipate what God is doing in my life, and to be thankful. There's something special about being grateful and having a grateful heart. And it gets us ready for Christmas. I never really thought about that it precedes Christmas, but how appropriate, because it's with a thankful heart that we can move into the Christmas season with the right attitude and the right understanding of what Christmas is all about. And it's way more than making wishes come true. I have to tell you, though, there's certain things about Thanksgiving that I do love. I love the food. I've already mentioned that. But I love football. I don't know if there's any other women here that love football, but I love the fall because of football. And I don't even really have one particular team that I cheer for. I've just gotten now where I love the sport. No offense to the pros and all that, but college football is where it's at. It just is. So that's one of the things that my son and I enjoy on Saturdays, because Ed has to go off to work on the weekends, and EJ and I will, once he's out the door, we park it on the sofa and we're watching, and he has a little schedule of what game comes on at what time, and if I'm going to be at church on Saturday night, which normally I'm at all the services, then he will TiVo so that mom gets to watch the games. I mean, it's pretty bad. So when you've got football and you've got food, that is a recipe for success. Now, the only thing that can bring a little twist in it is the fact that the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, are notorious for bringing a little turmoil into the house. Families coming in. You're reuniting with family, or perhaps I should say you're reigniting with family. And so often we get a little bit apprehensive about what's to come, and we get upset, and we're prepared for the worst instead of the best. So I have a word for you today. As we come into the Thanksgiving season, and it needs to be really great so that we can usher in Christmas the way we need to usher in Christmas, but as we come into this time where 46 million turkeys will be consumed, that's a lot of bird. A lot of bird. As we come into this time where families are going to gather, and friends, and we're going to hear statements that maybe just set our skin afire, and that don't settle real well, and that your children have to hug Aunt Maud when she's kind of smells different. All of those different things. I have one word for you. Don't get your tinsel in a tangle, okay? I needed this statement because I often get my tinsel in a tangle. My sister has already put up her Christmas decorations 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, the kids were like, "Mom, isn't it October?" I said, "Yeah, it's October." But she's just that plan ahead girl. So I think I'm going to use it this Christmas, and then I'm going to re-gift and send it to her for next Christmas, because she's maybe struggling with the same thing that I do, because I have trouble with that. But as we approach this season, I want us to make sure we don't get our tinsel in a tangle, and then we keep the main thing, because as we've said so often with Flavour, is women set the tone and the climate for the things that go on in our homes, in our communities. We are big into influence. And so you and I are rubbing shoulders right now with women who are going to impact how successful Thanksgiving will be or how much of a failure it will be. We set the tone and the climate. And so that's a monumental task, but it is one that we can do and do well. If you have your Bibles, I want you to open them to the book of Luke. And if you don't have your Bibles, that's okay. We have it on the side screens, but I do want you to try to get in the habit of bringing your Bibles so that you just are accustomed to go there, because this is the source. This is a place where when we have questions, when we have issues, which I know you're like me, we all have issues, we go to this book and it gives us the answers. But Luke chapter 10, we're going to be looking at verses 38 through 42, and we're going to look at a lady who maybe had her tinsel in a tangle, or as my sister tells me, don't get your panties in a wad. So Luke chapter 10, 38 through 42. As Jesus and his disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Now, this is another picture of hospitality. We're talking about hospitality. And Thanksgiving is a time, and Christmas is a time where we feel like hospitality is forced upon us. That we have to entertain, we have to be kind, and we have to open up our homes, or we have to be gracious and go to someone's home. That's what we're thinking hospitality. But remember the true definition of hospitality: grace packaged in kindness and given with purpose. It's a pleasure to be hospitable. It's a call to be hospitable. It's a privilege to be hospitable. And God is calling us to that. And look how this is another example of how they opened their home to Jesus. Martha opens her home. Okay, I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. As Jesus and his disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister Mary sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, "Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work?" I think my sister has said that before. "Tell her to come and help me." And I knew that Martha was thinking, okay, you know what? I went straight to Jesus, and you got to give her that. At least she didn't go kill Mary. She went to Jesus and complained to him. She had another option, which would have been what most of us would have done, is go straight to our sister and go, "Hey, wait a minute." But look what she does. She goes to Jesus. "Tell her to come and help me." But the Lord said to her, "My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her." Mary has discovered it. What is it? Who is it? It's Jesus. And as we approach this season, where hospitality is what is on everyone's mind, perhaps they're thinking of the entertaining part, or the meal planning part, or the how do you get this many people around the table part. I don't know, but we have to keep the true meaning of hospitality at the forefront because of it, and that's Jesus. Hospitality is all about Jesus. And as we come into this season, there are so many distractions. Just as it says here in the text, Martha was distracted. She was having an ADD moment. Maybe she had many ADD moments. I do, and I forget why I'm doing what I'm doing and for what purpose I'm doing it. And you're the same way. And no more distractions ever come upon us than do in the holidays. Because culture is dictating all these different things, all these things we should be worried about and concerned about. And does your child have this toy, or are you going to have this great dress to wear to a certain party, or whatever it might be. And we get distracted and lose focus of it, Jesus. So what a word that Mary and Martha give us in this text. Now, it's easy to point fingers and go, "Oh, Mary, man, she just had it all together." Martha, what was she thinking? Jesus was in her house. I mean, how could she miss that? How could she be so concerned? But I would hesitate or tell you to hesitate before passing judgment. I don't want to pass judgment too quickly because I find myself more in the Martha camp than I do in the Mary camp. I am a worker. I am a task-driven person. And the great thing that we should glean from Martha is her work ethic. She saw the need. She was the older sister. She saw the need. She knew that things had to be done, and she was going to make sure that they got done. That's an awesome thing. That's a strong work ethic. And I'm thankful that I grew up in a home where my parents trained us. We talked about this in Savor this morning about teaching your children and training them to be servants and to work. That's an incredible attribute. But what happens is when the work becomes it becomes the object. And Jesus is there and he's saying, I'm with you. So in this season, and we look at Mary at the feet of Jesus, listening and gleaning from him, we need to find balance in our lives. We need to say, okay, am I hosting a party? And how am I going to do that and keep Jesus at the center? Am I attending a dinner at a family member's home or a friend's home? And how am I going to keep Jesus at the center of it? Wow, now that is a question. That's something to think about. Can you do that? Yes, we can. And we will be the shining example of Christ as we bring hospitality wherever we go. And I'm just can't wait to hear all of the great things that are going to happen with families. I mean, we're going to have times that, testing times or whatever, but I'm excited because I know there's going to be some great things that come out of it by rubbing shoulders. Family are the hardest people to deal with. Do you find that? Since we've been doing this talk on hospitality, I have found that hospitality in my home has been the greatest challenge. It's just tough when you're on the rugged plains of reality, so to speak, with your family, to be kind when they don't deserve it, to be loving when they don't deserve it. Now, how many of you were at church, at Fellowship Church this past weekend? Raise your hand if you were. How many of you are upset with Ed at this point? If you weren't here, I'm not even going to shed light on it. You got to get the CD or DVD or whatever it is. Now you're going to be upset with me because I'm the one who gave him the article that sparked this whole thing that he did, and I'm so sorry. But I'm talking. You talk about hospitality. Woo. Anyway, if you're not in the loop on this, I'm so sorry. You'll figure it out this weekend. Don't miss it. Oh, you don't want to miss this weekend. But let me just tell you, if it's hard for you, it's hard for me. If it's hard for me, it's hard for you. So just be here and we'll do this. I was getting ready to say we'll do this thing together. No. Woo. Okay, well, anyway, when you're dealing with family, sometimes that's the most difficult audience for us to give hospitality to. And so let's make sure we keep it in mind this holiday season. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, as I thought to myself, okay, how do you keep Jesus? How do we minister to Jesus? How do we acknowledge Jesus when I'm going to my family? I don't think he's anywhere around. I'm not so sure that he was invited to this party. But let me share another passage of scripture with you. It's in Matthew 25, verses 34 through 42. Matthew 25, just a left turn from Luke. How is it possible to keep it at the forefront and to minister to Jesus, to let him be the focus of our hospitality? And this is a parable. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you fed me. I was thirsty, and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me into your home. I was naked, and you gave me clothing. I was sick, and you cared for me. I was in prison, and you visited me." Then these righteous ones will reply, "Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you?' And the king will say, 'I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me.'" Aunt Maud is the least of these. That weird uncle is the least of these. That relative that says that biting and hurting thing to you is the least of these. So we have that opportunity as we walk into this season to make an impact into other people's lives by keeping it the main thing, which is Jesus. So I just thought for this flavor, I would just give you some practical things on how to keep Jesus at the center. And so if you have a pen, you can jot some of these down, and let me just share with you some of the ideas that I feel like keep us a fresh perspective, a fresh view of what hospitality should look like. And this crosses over whether you're hosting someone, whether you're going to attend something, whether you work on Thanksgiving Day or not. You can still apply these as you walk into the holidays. The first thing is to begin with appreciation. The number one reason why we are not appreciative is because we're so busy. That is a proven factual statistic, that our lives move at such a hectic pace that we don't take time to reflect and think about what we are thankful for. God has blessed each one of us uniquely, and He's given us so many things that we need to contemplate as being appreciative for. One thing is we need to be thankful for people in our lives. We need to be thankful for, if you're married, for your spouse, warts and all, great qualities and all. Be thankful for that. If you're single, be thankful for the opportunities that lie ahead. Be thankful for the people that God's given you in your life that you can share fun moments and times. If you have that desire to be married right now, you have other people to share things with. And those are your friends. And until God gives you a husband, celebrate that. Now, I'm thankful for my children, not 24/7, but I'm thankful that God has blessed me with 4 incredible and amazing children. Maybe it's grandchildren, I don't know. How about your parents? I'm so thankful for my mom and for my dad and for what they poured into my life. And for those of you who are at the Flavour road trip, you know, it's not all good. But they poured into my life in ways that have made me who I am today. And God has used every single stop along the way to sharpen me and strengthen me. So thank God for people around you. Also for the provisions that He's given you. In this economy, more people are looking at what we don't have or can't get than what we do have. And if you take any kind of a look at the world outside of the USA, you can see very quickly that yes, we may be in an economic downturn, but we are blessed. We are blessed. As Tracy said, most of us can go into the closet and pick more than one pair of shoes. If we have more than one set of clothing, one outfit, we are considered rich by the world standards. More than just one. That's an amazing thing. We should be thankful for the provisions. And I believe that when you have a grateful heart toward the things that you have that are right in front of you, you're so occupied with gratefulness that you can't look forward out there at what you do not have at this moment. It is a balancing act. So be thankful for the provisions that God's given you and be thankful for your purpose in life. Jeremiah says, "For I know the plans I have for you." It's a plan with a purpose that each one of us, because of Christ, can wake up every day and go, I live for Him. We do not live with the void of no purpose. We have a high calling and a high privilege to serve God every single day. Be thankful for your health. And I know that there's many in this room who are struggling with some type of a health issue, but you're here today. Your body allowed you to get here. God allowed you through your physical body to get here today. Every breath we should be thankful for. There's so much. And there's some benefits to being appreciative. These are some of the things that just help you when you show appreciation. It helps you feel in control, which is good. It helps you feel in control, like you have a leg to stand on, so to speak. But the greater thing is it helps you understand that God is in control. And because he's in control of your life, you're in control of the everyday experiences, that you can move through this world and have a sense of autonomy because of what God is doing through you and the purpose that he's called you for. It also improves your health. Appreciation improves your health. And I like this. People who keep gratitude journals tend to exercise an average of 33% more each week and sleep a half an hour more each night. Now raise your hand if you'd like to maybe be motivated more to work out and to sleep 30 more minutes. I would. That's awesome. It also helps you cope better with trauma. Painful memories are less likely to surface and are less intense when they do in those who are regularly grateful. Also, it bolsters self-worth and self-esteem. One of the biggest challenges that women have is their self-esteem, their self-worth. Gratefulness, because you're thinking about what you have and all that God has done for you. And so you're appreciative. You don't have time to whine. It says that if you count your blessings, then instead of becoming negative at the first sign of a difficulty, you concentrate on the things that you value most and move past it. This was from Real Simple magazine. I love that magazine. It's really, it's power-packed with advice. It's a good issue. So be appreciative. One thing that you might do is to make a chart for your family or for you and your husband or just for you and your roommates, whatever. Put a chart and just write every single day, write something down that you're thankful for. And you could do that up until Thanksgiving and beyond of things that you're appreciative for. Start a journal, an appreciation journal. Write down little things that you might think are insignificant, but everything is significant when you're showing appreciation. Write some notes. If you're going to attend a party or if you're hosting a party, for every single guest that's coming to your house, if you start now, if you have a whole bunch of people, it'll work. Write a note of appreciation to each person. You talk about diffusing dynamite. That will do it. At least you won't be in the hot seat this holiday season because of your appreciation. It will bleed into the lives of others. That's awesome. Okay, number 2, plan ahead for the big day. Now, in our drama, Luby's was not kosher, but I say that's not necessarily true. Plan ahead for the big day. If you're overwhelmed, do some things to help you get through it. If it's make a meal in advance, and we're going to actually put some things on the Fellowship Church website. Just as you're sending in recipes, we're going to give you something for this holiday season, for this Thanksgiving, that'll be easy to do ahead. Plan ahead the Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday before. Get things together. Use paper goods. Now, I collect china, so I love to set a table, but sometimes I have to just say, you know what? Walmart, $1.88. You can get cute paper plates. They're so cool with turkeys and pumpkins and all this kind of stuff. And it's okay. You're not breaking the Martha law. I'm speaking of Martha Stewart. You're not breaking the rules. It's great to do that. Just relax, and that will help you take it and put it in the center of your holidays. Plan ahead. But also, you need to have your go-to places. Now, I have another confession to make. I have cooked a couple of turkeys in my lifetime. I've cooked a lot of turkeys in my lifetime. I'll tell you about 2 failures. The first turkey I ever cooked bled when we cut it. Ed's parents were in Israel for the holidays, and so his aunt and uncle came to our house, and his precious Aunt Charlotte, with all of Ed's cousins, just hid the fact that it bled because we cut it in the kitchen, thank goodness. We don't do the thing where you put it on the platter and cut it in front of everybody. We did it in the kitchen. So we microwaved it. We sliced it and microwaved it. Nobody knew, but that was my first turkey. It bled. Because of that experience, my second turkey was like beef jerky or turkey jerky. Turkey jerky. But it was okay because it was right when we came to fellowship 18 years ago, and there was a 3-on-3 basketball tournament in Dallas called Hoop It Up. I think they still do that. But anyway, Ed was convinced that Fellowship Church could have a team that won the whole thing, and we came in second that year. But the reason is because he recruited players that he knew from all over the country and invited them to our home. So our 3-on-3 team was really, really good. I think we had a former pro player on our 3-on-3 team. But, it's all for the church. It was all for the church. But they shared Thanksgiving with us, and one of them was from the Bahamas, and so he didn't really celebrate Thanksgiving. So anyway, bottom line, when we cut the turkey, it's not good. It was very similar to Christmas Vacation. When it explodes and disintegrates, it was very much like that. But the best coup that has ever occurred in the Young family was led by Ed's mother. And you have to know Ed's mom. She is one of the dearest, sweetest, most innocent women who's ever walked the face of this earth. The dream mother-in-law. Well, Ed's mother called me, and she said, Lisa, I have a plan. And each year when EJ, our son, was growing up, because of his neurofibromatosis, we would go to Houston to MD Anderson Hospital, and we tried to do it around Thanksgiving so that we could celebrate Thanksgiving with Ed's parents. And then Monday and Tuesday prior to Thanksgiving, we would go to the doctor and be there all day Monday, all day Tuesday, very laborious. He would have, an hour and a half to 3-hour MRIs, meet with the neurologist. I mean, it's no fun. And so by the time that's all over, then it's like, okay, Thanksgiving is a day away, get it all together, do the dream meal, keep Jesus at the center. As a pastor's home, we know to do this for years. So this is just what we were facing. So she said, I have a plan. And I said, okay. She goes, this year, we're going to get our Thanksgiving meal from Cleburne's cafeteria. Now, this was big. And I'm like, oh, okay. And she goes, and we're not going to tell anybody. So after that doctor's appointment was over, she had ordered everything. And we, on our way from the medical center in Houston, we drove right by Cleburne's cafeteria. And I'm telling you, they had a system. They had uniformed men outside, and you went around by where the dumpsters are. They had lines of people. Unbelievable. I'm like, who knew? These women, they had it all figured out. And somebody was smart enough to tell Mimi. So we drove through, picked everything up. It's in a box. And when we got to the house, and we swore EJ to secrecy. We're like, EJ, you will get a new Power Ranger if you just don't say anything. So we get it to the house, and I go to the lookout, make sure nobody's looking, and we go into the laundry room and put everything away in the extra refrigerator. And then Thanksgiving morning, we go into the kitchen and pretend that we're doing something, kind of like those women that throw flour on their face. So we go in there and we get out the good dishes, and we put everything in the good dishes, and we hit pots and pans together. And the only thing that Ed's mother made was cornbread dressing, because Ed's dad had this family recipe that they've done, and she goes, if I don't do the cornbread dressing, he will know. So we never told anybody. And we sat, and they're like, oh, this is so good. This turkey has such a nice flavor and all this stuff. And then she put 3 dried corn kernels at everybody's plate, and everybody was, at the end of the meal, was to go around and say what they're thankful for. So when it got to her turn, she was like, I'm thankful that EJ had a good report. I'm thankful that our family is together. And I'm thankful for Cleburne's cafeteria. And they all looked at her like, Cleburne's cafeteria? So then we unveiled our conspiracy, and I'm telling you, we had the best time. And that was hard for me, because I like to do things my way. And I like for that sweet potato casserole to have just the right amount of topping on it. And I prefer to make mine with egg whites. So, all these different little things, that's how I roll. And so I had to get out of myself, because you know what the bottom line was? We needed to keep it at the center. And no frantic women were going to make that happen. We knew what the schedule was, and we had to deviate a little bit from it, and it ended up being one of the best Thanksgivings we've ever had. So just plan ahead for the big day and do some simple things like that. The last thing is to put peace on your tongue. Not peas, but peace. Put peace on your tongue. Go in knowing that something could happen, something could be said, feelings could get hurt, tempers could flare, especially in the economic times that we're in, political times. Families have opinions about things, and one person says this, but go with peace on your tongue. Prepare now for things to say to diffuse the situation. Loving statements in response to hurtful statements. And it can be so hard, I know, but God will give you the grace to put peace on your tongue. And when you do that, your Thanksgiving will be a holiday that ushers in the celebration of the birth of Jesus, the way it should be, where Jesus is at the center. Our hospitality is all about grace, packaged with kindness and given with purpose. What a wonderful opportunity we have to make a difference in that difficult place of family gatherings. But God will give you the strength.